Hey everybody, my name is Ted Forbes from The Art of Photography, and welcome back to another episode of Photo Friday Q&A, where I answer your questions about photography. If you have a question you want to have answered on an upcoming episode, how do you do it? You leave it in the comments below. That's where I see them, and that's how I come up with what I'm going to cover on this show. So today's question does not come from any one person in particular. It comes from probably about 20 people who've been asking me this over the last year or so, and I thought it'd be a good one to address. And the question essentially, I'm going to turn it into two questions, is would I ever consider doing photography portfolio reviews on this show? And my quick answer is no, and I'm going to explain why. And I don't mean to be snarky or weird by saying that, but I want to turn this around too. And if you want to get your work reviewed, how do you do that? Personally, I don't feel comfortable doing photography portfolio reviews on this show in this format. I have done them personally when I've been asked to do them at student conferences, generally things where you're one-on-one with somebody and you're going through their portfolio. I think that a portfolio review needs to be very serious and something that's actually going to benefit the person being reviewed, and I'm not sure that a public forum is going to be interpreted the right way. And what I'm saying is that sometimes it's important to be very harsh and honest with people's work. In fact, I think that is generally the responsible thing to do. If you want to hear somebody tell you your work is wonderful, there are people in your life, family, friends, etc., who would be willing to oblige you, certainly. And if you want honest feedback that you can actually do something with, it's important to go to somebody you respect to do that with. And I'm very flattered that you guys respect me enough to ask me if I would do that. I just don't feel very comfortable doing it here, because if I'm going to have negative things to say about something, which I'm sure I would, I don't want to be viewed as being condescending or angry, and I certainly don't want the person's work being reviewed to look at that is that I'm just kind of beating them down. And I just think that's going to happen in this forum, so that's why I have not done it. I also think that generally you guys as viewers tune into this show because you want to learn about photography or you want to be inspired to do something different, and that's a whole different ballgame, and that's what I'm really trying to put my foot forward with, is staying in that world of inspiration and education and understanding and getting people excited about shooting photography, and that's what I aim to do on this. So I just don't think, I think that it's really dangerous area to go into doing reviews. Now, having said that, let's be productive and inspiring about this. If you want to get your work reviewed, how do you do that? And I think it's pretty simple. I think it's easier than you think it might be. First thing I would do is you need to find photographers that you look up to that you could go to, and you need to start making a list of maybe 20, 30 names on this list if you're really serious about this. And they can be people that you might know in person, or I understand that people live in small towns, sometimes you don't have photographers around that you have access to, but maybe it's somebody who can contact over the mail or via email or electronically or something like that. And I have done reviews for people. I had several people a couple years ago that actually sent me a physical portfolio to hold in my hand, not JPEGs. That's important too. You want to see how the work looks on paper. You really want to get into it. And I actually set up a couple Skype calls with people. So people are willing to do that if they have time. And so the reason I say you need a list of 20 or 30 names is because you're going to have people that just don't have time to do it. Not everybody likes to do reviews because of my aforementioned problems with, hurting feelings and stuff. And some people are open to doing it, but you need to have a wide range of people that you can go to, because a lot of them probably won't do it right off the bat, so you're going to have to find people that you will. Another thing to think about too is it's kind of like going on a first date with somebody and they're ready to commit to a relationship real serious, and you come on too strong, and I think we've all been in that position on both sides probably. And sometimes reviewing work is a very personal thing, and sometimes if that is the first thing you're proposing when you talk to a photographer that you look up to, it's coming on a little strong. And so maybe a better way is come up with that list of 20 or 30 names and start a little slower, and send an email and say, hey, I really look up to your work. My name's Ted and I live in Dallas, and I'm really trying to aspire as a photographer. I just wanted to reach out and say hi. I really dig what you do. Leave it at that. Let them email back and say, hey, Ted, thanks for the email. That's really nice of you. And then maybe you email back with, oh, hey, since you responded, thanks a bunch. Just be polite. Just say, hey, and ask them a question about what they do or something that they do. Start engaging in some kind of discussion, and I think your chances of actually getting that portfolio review are a little greater once you've had that conversation with somebody. So that's something to think about too. One other thing I want to suggest before we move on here, And I don't know if a lot of you have thought about this, but we're talking about one-on-one reviews where we look at work. And I think another thing that can be very, very helpful. I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, I had a group of people that we were taking a class together. It was a photography class, and we were learning darkroom techniques, and we were doing all that stuff. And there were about 5 of us in the group, and we used to do this thing where every week we'd have, we called it the corkboard session. And so what we had was a cork bulletin board on the wall in there, and when we would get together once a week, everybody would bring one image that they'd made that they wanted feedback on. And what we would do is we'd tack them up to the board, and we'd kind of go around the room, talk about what we liked, talk about what we could all be working on. And it was particularly tight because it was a group of about 5 of us that were all friends, all knew each other. And we all were wanting honest feedback. So we, if you're getting too much, oh, it's really pretty, oh, it's really cool, come up with the rules. Like, you can't say it's pretty, or you can't say it's cool. Or if that's really still out of hand, okay, no positive comments. What needs work on these? Or, and then flip it back around and say, okay, well, what do you like about these? Because when you see work side by side, it's something that, it's a very community-based activity that I think we can all benefit from. So start looking at your friends and get together. Get together for coffee and just put stuff out on the table. Print your work. That's the most important part. Anyway, I hope this advice is something that is useful to you. And, once again, for those of you who are kind of really insistent that I do this, that's the reason I don't. And that might change one day if I could find something that was different than what other people do when they do photography reviews on their shows online. It's just removed from the show, and I haven't done it. But anyway, I've tried to give you some advice, though, that I think would be better for you than trying to get your stuff reviewed on video on the internet anyway. So anyway, once again, guys, if you got a question, leave it in the comments below, and I'll see if I can get to it in an upcoming episode. And remember to subscribe to the old channel so you can be abreast of all the wonderful videos that we do every week. So thank you guys for watching. Once again, this has been another episode of The Art of Photography, and I will see you guys next time. Later.